Hi everyone, it's great to be with you guys. Today we want to speak about the urban planning program, and it's two of our great students. We have a Cass and also we have Anika from the third year and the second year, and we want to discuss about urban planning program at the University of Auckland and what the planning means and how we teach urban planning, and what potential opportunities you have in the future as a planner. So it will be kind of the discussion for today between us.
So hi everyone, I'm Cass. I'm a third year urban planning student. I'm from Rodney College and just excited to show you guys a little bit about my journey, my experiences at the university, and what things I find important about planning and my future really. I think over to Anika.
Hi, I'm Anika, and it's my pleasure to share my experience in urban planning with you guys. So I graduated from Maclean's College in 2018, and I am a second year urban planning student. And I think I have the passion to study urban planning is because urban planning is not only learning from the past, shaping our current society, but also we are looking beyond the future as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. So I think we need to speak about what the urban planning means. Which is very, I think, challenging question. It's a lot of debates, about the planners and the role of the planners. Planners traditionally, try to shape the cities and towns, to make the cities more livable, sustainable, and also address some malfunctions of the system. As you know that we are more and more urbanized, living in the major cities. So obviously we are facing more problems and wicked problems here. So as a planner, we use our tools, critical thinking, and the other tools we have, policy, design, and planning tools to address this kind of issue. It includes the policy, legislation, politics, finance, economics, sustainable, environmental issues, cultural issues, heritage. So it's a range of the things, even going to the infrastructure, transportation, new technology. So everything relates to the city or urban living we are dealing with. And as you know that the dynamic is changing, and as Anika correctly mentioned that we are not thinking about the pre-existing issues or just only the existing one, all the time thinking about the future, how we can shape the future of the cities and how we can improve the quality of life of the people in the city here. So it's at least my definition of the planning, So, but we have obviously we have a range of the definitions of the role of the planners and urban designers in the society. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so recently we actually had a talk with a school, and one of the definitions we had was the creation of place through the mediation of space, it really stood out to us. And for me, coming from high school, one of the interesting things about urban planning was just how broad it was. So I was very interested in things like history, geography, design, and this program really brought all those elements together. So I also started looking at architecture, geography with the university, but I really settled on urban planning because it combined all those elements together. It's just about being curious. So at high school, I didn't really know about economics. I didn't do much in politics, although I was interested in it. And the university and this program really helps you make all these connections. And it doesn't matter about your past experiences. It's about what you do now.
Urban planning is just such an interesting degree because I studied geography and design and technology in my high school. And I feel like it's really setting me up really well to study urban planning in university.
So in the first year of urban planning, you'll basically be introduced to the course. You'll be introduced to a range of technological services. You'll get introduced to Google SketchUp, AutoCAD, Illustrator, and a range of services available to all of us, really. And one thing that I found really helpful was the theory and the history of urban planning, and that kind of introduced us to urban planning law, governance, economics, and just shaped the course to set up for our second year and third year.
Yes. And then for first year, we have such a great opportunity in the studio to work with our studio work. And also for economics and sustainable development, we do have a lot of opportunity to learn new stuff and to also draw and design our own development.
Guys, which project you enjoyed the most here, during the last couple of years?
My favorite project so far was from my first year urban planning. So it was about redevelopment of a Grafton site right next to the Grafton campus of the University of Auckland. So I get to redevelop the whole site by giving it up to more apartments, terrace housing, so changing all the detached housing to more residential housings and apartments instead for all the students living close by to the Grafton campus.
My site that I really enjoyed redeveloping was in Eden Terrace. We took the site, we looked through the whole history of the site, how it developed alongside Auckland, the change, cultural side of it, and then the things we wanted to apply for, say, sustainability, climate change, and the type of residents and the density we really wanted there.
The roles of the planner as a facilitator in the society. We work with the different type of people, groups, institutions, stakeholders, so we try to make connections between the different actors and also consider their interests. Especially when we are working with the communities, EVs, we need to learn and know how they think, what they want, not just what we perceive they need. So it's very good, actually, it's very, very important to know what they really want from us and how we want, because at the end we want to facilitate and improve their lifestyle, not just impose something on them. So in that case, we need to work closely with the communities and understand their needs. Again, it's another layer of the complexity for planners because we need to learn how to communicate with them, collaborate with the communities. What do you think?
Yeah, so the urban planning discipline, it's very interconnected. You also have to consider the range of emotions people have with their areas, we have with their cultural heritage. And you take a high school, for example, the design of the high school, how it's interconnected, its walkability, its connection to transport, how parents are actually going to drop off their kids. It affects your everyday life, and the urban planning discipline is very interconnected to everything around us.
So urban planning is actually not just focusing on a neighborhood or regional level. It is also about a national and a global level at the end as well.
It's a really collaborative space. You've got the 50 students, you work with your tutors, your teachers all in that space. You sit around a table, you do your work together, any questions. You get taught also in a variety of ways. So you have your lecture theatres, you have your small tutor groups, and then you can sit with your friends and do the assignments, work how you're going to approach the assignment, yeah.
So how long did it take for you guys, to work on, for example, studio one or lecture ones? How much time you spend on it?
So during your first year, you have 2 semesters. You have 4 courses in each semester with your general education course. And you'll have your 2 studio courses as well. And that's the collaborative one. And then you'll also have, say, 3 days a week where all your lectures are. And then you also have tutorial groups and tutorial spaces.
And for me, I would definitely work in the studio for most of my time to work on my assignments or ask my classmates for students for questions. And then, it's very interesting.
As I know, in your city, you have a lot of facilities like refrigerator, printers, and everything, microwaves.
You have your tea kettle, your fridge. Basically, that's where you spend most of your time. And a few late nights finishing assignments, but yeah.
So you can definitely spend the whole day in your studio and enjoy the day with your assignments.
The planning is quite interesting, discipline because we are dealing with the very big, issues and the problems we are facing, like climate change, which is the kind of the threats for us. And we try to address it based on the plans and policies. And also other issues like emerging technologies. We are speaking more and more about autonomous vehicles, augmented reality, virtual reality. So we are using that kind of technology. But the difference between us and other disciplines like engineering, when we are speaking about technology, for example, is not just the technology itself. We are speaking about the environment, community, and the human being as well. And some other concerns like social justice, equality is a big issue for us. So we try to address this kind of the issues in the existing condition and also in future, and putting the right plans and policies for the future as well. But I think our students, they have better sense about how we cover it in the program, isn't it?
Yeah, so like applying that to the real world and the Auckland environment, because we do study the Auckland environment, it's integral to our course. And so one of the things we did was on Alfred Street with the planter boxes. And that was a form of tactical urbanism. So we reclaimed the street from cars for more walking space and just make it a more livable community space, really.
And for our studio work, we always get to work with our Auckland-based location. So not just Auckland in general. So we can also base on our campus, city campus of University of Auckland as well.
Based on the nature of the planning program, we are all the time working with the communities, and also we are going to the site visit. It's not just sitting in the office or even in the studio, which is quite nice, but it's not the only things we do. So we do a couple of the site visits working with the communities. I think our students, they have a good experience about that one. What do you think, Anika?
So we do have some field trips going to the real life examples. So not just focusing on the environment itself, we also can find all the real life situations and real life problems to deal with it. And also for our first year, our urban design, we do have a lot of opportunities to go to Freeman Space, for example, and then study all the overall context in there.
You also have a range of opportunities overseas. So I had the opportunity to go back to Holland and study at the University of Groningen, but unfortunately due to COVID-19 that didn't happen. But there's a range of opportunities with partnering universities overseas. You can go to North America, South America, you pay the same fees, and there's a range of scholarship opportunities as well. So it's a really great opportunity with the university there.
Yeah, and we really support that kind of moves, because this kind of experience will help our students to bring back their experience from the overseas, so it can enrich their performance later on, and their action as a planner, so they can bring that kind of experience from overseas here. And we have a great actually market regarding to the urban planning program. We have a good connection with the private sector and public sector. Most of our students in third year and fourth year, they find internship, positions in both private and public sector, and so it's a great opportunities, and it's a range of the opportunities regarding to the diversity of the skills they have to work as a transport planner, working as a consulting, planner, policymaker, strategists in public sector, and also have the chance to work in the private sector, especially in the major companies and also smaller companies as well. I think Kes has a good experience about that as a third year.
Yep. So in the third year, you get exposed to a range of opportunities, whether that's, like Mohsen said, in transport or policy. There's internships with Auckland Council that take you through different roles. You can take different opportunities there with private enterprises as well. I had the privilege of studying how alcohol affects public places as well, and how communities are impacted by alcohol. And there was a range of decisions there from lawmakers, you read policy, and there's a range of community perspectives that were very helpful.
It's great to know that actually how the higher school prepare you to enroll in the planning, and how you can find the connections between what you studied there and what you are doing now in the planning program, though.
Yeah. So I was very passionate in high school about geography, history, economics, and also politics there. So that kind of led me down the urban planning pathway. And there were also things due to climate change, coastal erosion, which I studied, the Australian bushfires, and that's all included in the urban planning program. And then I had a talk with my career counsellor, and that really led me down the urban planning pathway.
Yes. Interestingly, I've also studied geography in my high school as well. And the most I focused was on global warming. And that is what we are focusing right now as a planning students, to always focus on our environment and to stay sustainable to our society.
In urban planning program here, we define the role of the planners and the problem solvers. And one of the dimensions very important here is creativity and innovation. So, creativity and innovation, especially for the young generation of the planners, urban designers, policymakers, I think it's crucial, to address the problems we are facing, like climate change, dealing with the technology, community, and social justice. So in that case, we want to actually empower our students with the good understanding about the theory, but at the same time, hands-on practice-based kind of activities to address the issues. What do you think? Do you think we achieved that or not?
Yeah, so exactly. So we use the theory and then we build upon that. So we'll take lessons from the past and we'll adapt the ideas. We'll put our own spin on it, be creative in our own way, draw, use Google SketchUp, AutoCAD, things like that to just produce our own ideas based on lessons from the past, really.
And it's a very lucky lesson for us that we do have this opportunity, the only opportunity in the New Zealand to study urban planning in here.
It's a big question why we should actually enroll in the planning program at the University of Auckland. As you know, that the University of Auckland is the highest rank in between the other universities in the country. So we are the first, and we are quite unique. So, and also we are actually the main trainer, educator of planners in industry. So around the 50 to 60% of the planners trained by the school and in our program, in undergrad and postgrad as well. So what do you think, guys?
And as an urban planning student, we also have the unique studying environment in our studio. But also beyond from that, it is a degree that is recognized for New Zealand planning institutions as well.
Yep, and our lecturers are leaders in their fields from a wide range of backgrounds with a vast array of experience. And they're also leaders in their fields and they have ties to the industry, which is really helpful for when we enter the industry.
And the last thing I should add, most of, we have very good connection with the other institutions, planning institutions around the world. So when our students graduate, they can easily work in Australia, Canada, UK, and most of the European countries as a planner. So their qualification is recognized over there. And nowadays we are working with the American, colleagues to actually our qualification recognized by Americans as well, so our students can work in the United States later on. So it's a lot of good positive things to be part of this program. Regarding to employability of planning and planners, because we cover a range of the topics and we learn a lot of skills, so we can easily fit in the different type of positions, as a transport planner, landscape planner, land use planner, urban designer, policy analysts. And most of our students, they can easily find job later on in public sector and the private sector. Public sector can be central government organization or agencies like MBIE or NZTA, or can be like a local government, Auckland Council, Auckland Transport. All the time they offer very good opportunities for our students to work there. But at the same time, we have very good markets regarding the private sector. As a director of program, all the time I receive emails from the companies, and they ask for the good students to join their crew over there and work for them as a planners. So I think from the third year to fourth year, most of our students they find very good job opportunities and they can easily improve their positions there, and the salary is quite good as well in comparison to the other ones. Most of the time you start from the 65,000 from the junior planners, and then rise quite rapidly to around the 100,000 after 3-4 years for good planners, which is quite challenging for companies, but it's good for our graduates. But at the same time, the job opportunity is not just limited to New Zealand context. Some of our students, they find job overseas in Australia, Canada, in China, because our focus is based on the sustainability, sustainable design community. So they are quite unique in the market, global market, so they can easily find good positions in the global market as well. If you are passionate to change the future, to address the issues, engage with the society, I think the planning is the right place for you.
So it's all about being curious. So in high school, I didn't know too much about economics or politics, but I was very interested in those subjects. And it doesn't matter about what your past experiences are. The university really helps you and prepares you for the industry. So it's all about what you do now and what you plan to do in the future.